I'm Rose, welcome to my channel. Now, one of the reasons that I used to struggle so much with money in the past is because no one ever actually sat down with me to talk to me about it, to show me how to stay out of debt, save, invest, and just overall be good with money. And that's why I wanted to do this video. You can think of me kind of as your best friend or your big sister, just sitting down to show you all my stuff, just so you can get some tips for how to better manage your finances and also see that I'm not perfect either. I definitely overspend on things more than I would like, but still, overall, I have a pretty good system for managing my money. I'm gonna be spilling all the tea on how I save, budget, and invest my money so we can start learning from each other. Okay, first, let's talk about how I budget. Now, yes, I do budget. I started budgeting when I got really serious about wanting to get out of debt. And even once I was out of debt, I sort of slipped back into not budgeting. And that's when I realized, well, if I don't continue budgeting, I might very easily fall back into debt. And that's why even to this day, as much as I want to put it off, I always make myself sit down, check my budget, and make sure I'm on track. In the beginning, I sort of had this relationship with budgeting, like it's gonna tell me what I can't spend money on. It feels like deprivation. Like, no, you can't go out to eat with your friends. No, you can't buy that new handbag. Like, no, 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 no. But I've actually been able to reframe budgeting in my mind as something that tells me yes. Yes, you can be debt-free. Yes, you can buy that house. Yes, you can go on that vacation. And yes, you can do all this without being stressed about where the money is gonna come to pay for this because you've budgeted for it. So that's something that's really helped me, is I've really reframed it as something that helps me say yes to all the things that I want to do in my life. So in terms of how I do it, I use an app called YNAB. You don't have to use an app. Some people use spreadsheets. I personally love YNAB. I'll link to it below in the description of this video so you can get a free month to try it out. So the way I organize my budget, I first break everything out into 6 very, very broad categories. And then within each category, I break it down further into more specific line items. And so my broad categories here are: 1, fixed expenses. So that's where I have stuff like my health insurance, property taxes, pet insurance, car insurance, life insurance, home insurance, bills that are always gonna be the fixed amount every single month, no matter what. And then the next broad category I have are variable expenses that are needs. This is also stuff that are needs, but the amount every month could vary. So groceries, utilities, gas, pet food, medical and dental visits, toiletries, home maintenance, and stuff like that. And then I also have another broad category called variable expenses wants. This is where I put stuff like restaurants and coffee, shopping, spoiling my dog. Yes, I have a line item in there for that. Beauty, like spa visits, nails, wellness, like massages, facials, home decor, hobbies, gifts, and other sort of variable wants. And then I have 2 other super important broad categories. One is called the add a zero category. I just like to call it add a zero because it's like adding a zero to my net worth. But I think of this as my wealth building category. This is where I try to budget for things like my retirement accounts and other types of investing goals that I have. And then my very favorite category is the treat yourself category. And here, if there's any sort of splurge items that I really wanna treat myself with, I put that in my budget so I can start saving for it and eventually have the money to pay for it. Okay, so then what I do next is, now I've got all of these categories, and the next thing that I do is every time that I get paid, every time, and I'm self-employed, so I have a very irregular income, but every time money comes into my account, that goes to this sort of ready to assign area. And then from there, I'll start giving every dollar a job. And obviously first, I'm going to assign to the necessities like rent or insurance premiums, like stuff that is gonna come out of my account and I need to have money for it. I'm gonna fund those first. And ideally, in a good month, I have enough money coming in that I can assign enough dollars to every single line item in my budget. That would be all my needs, necessities, and my wants and my goals. The idea really is every time you get some money, you give every dollar a job, you basically tell your money where you want it to go before you just spend it on some random impulse purchase that you really didn't plan for. So it's really nice to have this sort of bird's eye view of what are all the things that require money in your life, and then when you get paid, you get to decide. It doesn't even matter how much money you have or don't have. Even if you make a very low income, you still feel very in control of your money, because when the money comes in, you get to tell it where you want it to go. And it feels really good to have a plan rather than just buying things here and there and just hoping for the best. And then in terms of how I spend throughout the month and stay on track, actually most of the time I do not follow my budget to a T. There's always adjustments that need to be made. So basically every time any sort of transaction happens on one of my cards or on my accounts, it's linked to my YNAB app, so the transactions come through in real time, and then I categorize them as they come in. So for example, if I go to a restaurant and I spend $50 on dinner, that's gonna come into YNAB. I'll categorize it as a restaurant expense, $50, and YNAB will take $50 out of the amount of money I've allotted for restaurants that month. And then if, for example, by the end of the month, I have no money left for restaurants because I've already gone out a lot that month, but I still want to go out to this like one last brunch that my friend invited me to, then what I could do is I could adjust. So for example, brunch is going to cost $30. Then what I would do is I would move $30 from a different category, say my shopping category, or take $30 out of my grocery category and just be a little more frugal with groceries for the rest of that month, or just take it even out of my retirement investing category, for example. Like, the point is, if you're gonna spend $30 that you didn't plan on spending, that money has to come from somewhere, right? It's gonna either come from a different spending category, you'll just cut back on there, or it's going to come out of what could have gone into your retirement savings. Something else that I really love about budgeting, and especially YNAB in particular, is it really helps you get out of credit card debt and stay out of credit card debt. Because the thing with YNAB is whenever you assign every dollar a job, you can only assign money that you already have in your account. You can't assign money that is coming in the future that you think is coming, and you can't assign like credit limits. It basically forces you to spend money that you have. And if it's money that you don't have, then it'll be clear that you're spending money that you don't have because it's going on a credit card and you haven't budgeted for it, and it will sort of make a little red flag for you. So I really love that. It keeps you accountable. It keeps you in touch with your real finances, with your real life budget, with money that you really have. Because I find that if I don't do this, I'll totally lose touch with reality and just swipe my credit card left and right, and at the end of the month I'll be shocked at where all the money went. Versus if I have something like YNAB, I'm categorizing my transactions every couple of days and seeing what budget line items I'm spending in the most, and what's going on with my money. Okay, so now let's talk about saving. Well, first of all, my very first savings goal ever was to save up an emergency fund. So if you're new to this whole personal finance stuff, that would be the place to start. So I set a very ambitious goal to save up bare minimum 3 months of living expenses, and to just put that into a high yield online only savings account that is separate from my checking account. So I almost don't even remember that it exists. So I have $10,000 set aside in a Capital One 360 savings account. It pays over 4% interest last time I checked, so it has a good interest rate too. And I know that that money is there if I ever really needed it, if all the shit hits the fan and I lose all my income. I'll have this emergency fund to keep me afloat for at least 3 months. So that feels really good to have. It makes you feel very secure, It gives you choices because you know that you're not living completely paycheck to paycheck. So definitely an emergency fund should be your first savings goal. That was definitely mine. And now that I've got that taken care of, I have other savings goals. One little tip for saving, and this is something I do religiously, is whenever I want to save any money, I transfer it out of my checking account where all my daily activity happens, and I put it in a separate savings account, out of sight, out of mind. And if you can, I highly recommend doing like an automatic transfer from your checking account to this separate savings account every single month. Maybe it's $500 a month, $100 a month, $1,000 a month, whatever you can handle. Then a couple months later, you're gonna check your savings account and see that has thousands of dollars in it, and you'll be like, wow, I totally forgot that was happening. Because if the money is there and you see it, you're gonna spend it. So that's one little way that I hack my own psychology, is I put money away into savings accounts that I don't see, so that I almost feel kind of poor, but really in the back of my mind, I know like those savings are really stacking up. Something else that I'm saving for is in the treat yourself category. Lately, I have been really eyeing this handbag that I would love to buy. I never thought of myself as someone who would want designer handbags, but there's this one bag from Prada that is really nice and very classic. I feel like it would go with so many things that I wear, and I would wear it like almost every day. And it is about $3,000. So this is how I'm being responsible. I want to buy the bag, but I also don't want to do it at the expense of other more important goals like my retirement investing or even like other necessities that I need to pay for soon. So I have that line item in my budget, and I know that it's something I want to save for, but I'm going to prioritize once I have enough money to fund all my other goals and necessities and wants. Then I will put money into that Prada handbag category. But really the idea is you save up for something when you want it rather than just impulse buying it. Like I could easily go on Prada.com and buy it on my credit card right now. And maybe I'd be able to pay off my credit card that month, but it would probably be at the expense of other important financial priorities that I had. So this is where budgeting really kind of keeps that impulse urge in check and makes you be a little more responsible for things that you want to buy. In a couple months, when I actually go buy that Prada bag, it's because I will have enough money in my budget allocated for it, and it's gonna feel so good and probably enjoy my purchase even more because I know that I didn't buy it at the expense of other things that are important to me. All right, now let's talk about investing. Investing is so important because if you never learned how to make money work for you, which is what investing is, then you will have to work for money for the rest of your life. And who wants to do that? So I am going to tell you about what investment accounts I have and what investments I hold in each account and why. So first, I have a Roth IRA. A Roth IRA is something everyone should have. And if you make too much money to contribute to a Roth IRA, because there is an income limit, you can do what's called a backdoor Roth IRA. I'll link to some videos about that below this video. But basically, every single year, I contribute $6,500 to my backdoor Roth IRA. And this account is great because whatever money you make from the investments you hold inside of a Roth IRA are completely tax-free. And then later on, even if your $5,000 contribution has grown to, I don't know, $1 million, I'm just exaggerating here, you can withdraw all $1 million of that out of your Roth IRA completely tax-free. And this is amazing because usually when you make money with investments, you have to pay a good amount of taxes on them. So a Roth IRA is an account that I absolutely love and prioritize. The other type of account I have is what you call an HSA, or a health savings account. Annually, you can contribute up to $3,850 into this account every single year as of 2023, and whatever money you contribute to this account is pre-tax, meaning it's a tax deduction right off the top of your income. And then all the growth and all the gains, just like in the Roth IRA, are also tax-free, and then withdrawals, if they are for health-related expenses, are also tax-free. So it's like a triple tax loophole. So the health savings account is an amazing account to hold your investments in. The third type of investment account I have is a solo 401k. Now I'm self-employed, I'm an entrepreneur, so I have a 401k under my business, and that's what you call a solo 401k. However, if you work for an employer, your employer may have provided you with a 401k as well. So basically the three types of accounts that I just talked about, Roth IRA, HSA, and 401k, are retirement accounts that are tax advantaged. And each account slightly differs in the type of tax benefits that it provides, but they all provide some sort of tax advantage, which allows you to pay a lot less in taxes and eventually keep more of what you make because you're getting to keep more of the investment gains versus just giving it to the government. And now the fourth type of account I have is a taxable brokerage account. This is just a regular investment account where you can hold stocks and bonds. There's no tax advantages. Now let's talk about what investment investments I put in these accounts. In my Roth IRA, I am investing for the long term, right? So in this account, I hold what you call index funds. Now, index funds are basically baskets of many, many different stocks, hundreds, sometimes even thousands of stocks that you can buy in one easy purchase. And because there's so many stocks in there, it's basically a representation of the entire economy. So when I'm buying an index fund, I'm buying like a slice of the economy. So it's a really passive, easy way to invest and benefit from the long-term growth of the world economy. As for my HSA, I also invest in the same index funds as my Roth IRA, and I plan to hold these funds for the long term. I'm not gonna buy and sell, try to time the market, or try to optimize. I'm just gonna buy them and I hold them until I am much, much, much older. We're talking like 10, 20, 30 years from now. As for the specific index funds that I invest in, these are the ones that I hold in my Roth IRA and HSA. So you can check them out and research them at your own leisure. I'll also link to additional beginner investing videos below. And then I have my solo 401k, which is also a retirement account. And in this account, I invest in the same index funds that I just talked about. And in addition, I also invest in something called REITs. REIT stands for Real Estate Investment Trust, and it's essentially a stock that owns a lot of real estate. It's stocks in real estate companies. And this is a really cool way to basically own real estate without having to get a mortgage and get all the money to buy a huge property. You can actually be a real estate owner by buying a REIT. And some REITs are under $100 a share. So I hold a variety of REITs in my solo 401k. And the reason I hold REITs in my 401k versus a taxable account is because REITs pay really, really good dividends because, it's that rental income from real estate. However, REIT dividends are not taxed favorably because dividends come in two forms, non-qualified and qualified, and REIT dividends happen to be non-qualified. And so if I had held the REITs in a taxable account, I would be paying really significant income taxes on those dividends that I'm getting every quarter. And because I don't want to do that, I decided to shelter my income into a 401k where I will not have to pay taxes on those dividends. So this is a little bit more advanced when it comes to investing, but you do want to be conscious of how investments are taxed and organize your accounts and investments accordingly. Because let's face it, income taxes are like 30% and up. So just by being smart about how things are taxed and holding them in tax advantaged accounts, you're already getting a 30% on your investment, So I really, really consider taxes strongly whenever I'm sort of planning out my investments. All right, and then last but not least, in my taxable brokerage account, I hold my dividend stocks. This is my dividend portfolio. And in my dividend portfolio, I own a couple of ETFs that pay high dividends. Now, ETFs are similar to index funds. They're a little bit different in that they're a little more tax efficient and they are tradable during market hours. Check out this video for more details about the difference between index funds and ETFs, but essentially they are also a basket of very diversified stocks. So the ones I have are PGX, which is a basket of preferred stocks. There is VYM, which is Vanguard's ETF of high dividend paying US stocks. And then there is VYMI, which is Vanguard's ETF of the highest dividend paying international stocks. And I do also want to mention my rental properties. I have 3 rental properties in Las Vegas that are managed by a property manager, so they are more or less passive. I'll link to other videos about my rental property investing down below, but basically those bring in about $3,000 to $4,000 of cash profit every single month after I collect the rent and pay all my expenses and insurance and mortgage and stuff like that. So that's a nice, decent source of investment income. So in addition to my core investments, I also do a couple of extra supplemental things, which might be interesting to some of my more advanced investors out there. I do a bit of options trading where I sell and buy call and put options on my stock portfolio in order to generate an extra return. And I also have what you call an indexed universal life insurance policy, which is kind of a fancy instrument to invest more in a tax advantaged way. Again, I'll link to more videos about all the stuff that I'm talking about down below this video. Okay, well, that's basically it for my walkthrough on how I budget, save, and invest. This is essentially how I manage my money. And of course, I hope none of this has made you feel like you're not doing enough or that you're behind. We're all on our own journey and timeline. When I started this whole money journey, I was so bad with money. Like, I would just offer to pick up the tab at brunch for my friends and overdraft my account. That's how bad I was with my money. And I was also in a lot of debt. And these types of practices like budgeting and saving up in an emergency fund, these are what helped me start getting myself into a better situation and having like a really good, empowered relationship with my money. Now, if you liked this video, please let me know in the comments, because I'm thinking of turning this into sort of like a regular monthly series. And in these videos, I would update you on things like how well I stuck to my budget, what I'm budgeting for the following month, what my savings goals are at the moment, how my investments are doing, net worth updates, my financial goals. I feel like that would be really fun, and it would also hold me accountable too. So let me know what you think, if you'd like me to start this as a money diary series. And other than that, I really hope that you enjoyed this video. Thank you for hanging out with me today, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye.